introduction. All right, so we are joined by my friend, the incomparable, the astounding Lajuanda Williams-Griffin, founder of the Williams-Griffin Law Group, co-owner of The Cracked Egg Restaurant in Tupelo, graduate of Jackson State University and Mississippi College Law School, and U.S. Army vet. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson for our entrepreneurship class. We're recording this for our friends at Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us again.
Well, thank you, Greg, for having me. So I am really, really excited. Hello, young people. I just remember when, gosh, uh, of course, being the age that I am now, and you think back 20 some odd years ago when I was sitting in the classroom, I mean, we actually had to go out. We had to call in speakers. Remember, Greg? We didn't have these, wonderful tools to be able to, still connect with the outside world and, and bring it inside the classroom. So I'm honored to be one of the ones that you sought out. And I'm able, and I hope I can impart some sort of inspiration or motivation, whatever the young people need, to better gain an idea of what path they want to take,
Yeah, and you took an incredible path yourself. From Vicksburg, you said, your mother was in high school when she had you as a single parent, but yet you are doing some amazing things.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, yes, I'm from Vicksburg, Mississippi, born and raised. I will, everywhere that I go, I will always claim Vicksburg as my home. Um, and my mom, yeah, she was a teenage mother. I am the middle child of three girls. And my mother had me when she was 16, almost 17, I think. And she had my older sister when she was 14, almost 15. Matter of fact, my mother had her when she was 14, but she turned 15 the next day after
Wow.
after she had my older sister. And then the baby of us, she came along. I think my mom was 19, almost 20. So just imagine, trying to raise three young babies while being a baby yourself. And so it wasn't a picnic, being raised, by a teenage mother, but she instilled in us, um, to have goals, to complete your education, to do the very best that you can, in whatever area you decide to go into. She didn't try to tell us what we were going to do. I mean, but she really just knew that I'm gonna pour into you, and I'm gonna give you the tools, and you go and make it work. And so that from there, when I was 18 years old, I just remember being hungry because I'm a reader. I always read, and that was my sort of escape, you know. And I always would pick up a book, magazine, whatever, and I would read. And especially those little highlight magazine. You remember highlight, Greg?
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
So I would read the highlight magazines that would come, to the school. My mom couldn't afford that subscription, but my teachers would always give them to me because I had an interest in them, and so I would always read them, and that was sort of my escape. And I just knew that I wanted to see the world, and I was like, well, how can I see the world when I don't have any money? And you know, I got to try to figure this out. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I joined the military. I wasn't being patriotic. I wanted to say I wanted to get out of Vicksburg, and I wanted to see the world, and I wanted somebody to pay for it. And so, but it was a great experience. I would not trade that experience for the world. I was there for 9 years. In that time period, I learned a lot about discipline. I learned the importance of teamwork. I learned the importance of of listening to and following the guidance of those before you. I'm not going to say over you, but have been where you were, and following their lead. So I knew how to, I learned the importance of knowing that in order to be a leader, you have to know how to follow good leadership. You have to know how to follow good leadership. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about today, is the importance of that, being able to follow, and identify a good leader to follow. So I was there in the military. During that time, I got my bachelor's degree. I was starting grad school when I decided to separate from the military um, in 2006. And yes, I did graduate from Jackson State University, but I'm going to tell you, it was my time at Tougaloo. I was there for 2 years before I transferred to Jackson State, but it was my time at Tougaloo College that I really learned about myself as a Black woman in America, and how important it was, and for me to solidify my place in this country. And so I learned a lot about myself there. Um, and Tougaloo provided me with the tools to understand who I was as as a young woman coming of age in Mississippi, trying to make my mark in the world as a Black woman and as a Black educated woman. And so I took those tools, and I transferred to Jackson State. I graduated from Jackson State with my bachelor's in mass communications, focused on public relations with a minor in speech, because I always just admired the prolific speaker, being able to articulate your message, being able to express yourself in a very dignified manner, where you're going to inspire, where you're going to motivate, empower others, the importance of the spoken word. So I um I chose speech as my minor. And after graduation, some short time after graduating with my bachelor's, my mama called me up, and I'm gonna tell y'all how crazy I was when I was in my 20s. So my mama called me up, and she's like, "Hey, where you going?" And me and your sister's about to do something. I can't really remember, but I said, "Well, I'm on my way to Dallas." And she said, "Dallas? Dallas what?" I said, "Texas." And so she's like, "What you going there for?" I said, "I'm going to live." She said, "You're going to live? What you mean you're going to live, Muffin?" That's my nickname. That's what my family calls me. "What you mean you're going to live?" And I'm like, "Mom, I'm going to live." She said, "Have you found a place? You got a job?" I'm no, and no. So so she said, "Well, wait a minute, wait a minute." She's trying to wrap her head around and all of that. As mama, I will be okay. She's, "Muffin, no, you won't." I mean, and I had the little red Nokia phone, and and I'm driving in my Chrysler Sebring, 24 years old. You can't tell me nothing, and I'm about to go and live. So so I made it to Dallas, and by this time my father called me. My dad called me, and he said, "Look, you have a sister there." So I forgot that my half sister was already living in Dallas as a teacher, and she had been there for a few years. And so I called her up, and I said, "Give me 3 weeks, I'm gonna be gone." 3 weeks. And 3 weeks I was gone. I had gotten a job working for in the public relations department at Verizon, and I was also doing some marketing for a local newspaper publication there. So I was, well on my way. Um And so I quickly realized I did not like corporate America. It just, it wasn't for me. It was a dog eat dog world. There was a lot of trampling over you, and me being 20 something years old, I still have my military experience, but in the military it's more of a camaraderie.
Yep.
It's what do you need help with so I can help you. It wasn't that in corporate America. You getting trampled over, and you have those that will smile in your face and mean you absolutely no good.
Yep.
And so I learned that lesson. And 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 then it was a weekend. I went back home, and it was the weekend that Hurricane Katrina hit. I went back home, and I was at a pool party. I'm at a pool party. I'm just partying it up. My mama called me. She, what you doing? My mama always calling me, and I said, I'm at a pool party, mama. I'm visiting, Jackson, because my mom at that point was living in Clinton, and so she called me and she asked me where I was at, and I said I'm at a pool party, and so she said, "What are you doing at a pool party?" And I said, "Well, I'm you know I'm at a pool party. What's up, girl? It's a hurricane." So I I began to, I was like, what do you mean a hurricane? She said, it's a hurricane that's coming here to Jackson. I was like, really? I was like, it looks fine out here. So, um, make a long story short, I end up staying. Hurricane, we already know the effects of Hurricane Katrina, how catastrophic that was. And so I end up staying. I stayed in Jackson. I did not go back to Texas. I went there to get all of my stuff. I did not want to move back, um, you know, um, knowing that it was just I could not leave home again after that. I wanted to come back, and I wanted to sit still and try to figure things out about my life. Hurricane Katrina brought some perspective, so to speak. And so I enrolled in grad school. I studied public health. So I have my master's in public health, and I focused on health policy and management. And it was there the experience that I learned in getting that degree is I like laws. I like the interpretive nature of laws. I can take a law and I can argue both sides of it. I can take a piece of statute, um, and I can see both perspectives. So I love the how fluid the law is. Um, and so my professor at the time told me that he advised that I should go to law school. And I was like, really? It's like I don't even know any lawyers. And I hadn't, really I done some lobbying. I met some legislators because while I was in grad school, I partnered with a maternal and child health organization, and we lobbied to get Mississippi to be the 46th state, I think it's the 46th state, to pass the breastfeeding bill. And so I did some lobbying because I'm a big breastfeeding advocate. I have 3 children. I breastfed all 3 of them. And so now in the state of Mississippi, a woman can breastfeed her baby in public. She can feed her child from her breast in public. And so and in doing that, it just taught me that I wanted to mold, shape, and possibly create some laws. And so that sparked an interest in law school, and it was confirmed to me when my professor told me that I should go to law school. But I didn't know any lawyers. I don't have that pedigree. I did not come from a background of lawyers. I didn't even know that you had to take an LSAT to
Wow.
get into law school.
Wow.
I did not know. I thought that you could just apply to law school. And so my professor was like, no, you can't. You have to take the LSAT. I'm like, what is that? And he was like, it's the entrance exam to get into law school. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what I gotta do? And so he said, you have to, you have to register for that for the next time the LSAT is being given. And so at this time I'm pregnant with honor. And so I didn't know anything about courses to take or books that they had. I didn't know any of this. So I just went and I took the test. I just took it. 7 months pregnant. Just went and took it. And so I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. And then after a while, I started getting all these offer letters from all these law schools. And I was like, I'm getting all these offers. What's happening? And so, and I said, I must have done well on it. And so I checked my email, and sure enough, I had gotten my scores back, and I made a 158. And I was like, well, that must be good. And I called my professor. He was like, that's phenomenal. 160 gets you into Harvard. So
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, I was my plan, I chose to my plan. And this is where, God just laughs at your plan.
Yeah.
My plan was to accept the offer from Stetson Law School in Tampa, Florida, because I wanted to study on the beach. So, so, and the plan was for my mom and my stepdad to raise honor, and I was getting ready. I was like, they're gonna raise, honor. I'm gonna go off to Florida and I'm gonna study, be a lawyer on the beach, and everything's gonna be fine. So that didn't happen. I had honor. I took one look at her and I was like, I cannot leave my baby. So I forfeited those plans and put those in my rearview mirror, and I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I had no idea that Mississippi College School of Law even existed. I
Wow.
did not know. I
Wow.
did not know. And it was my professor. I went to my professor and I told him, and he was like, well, just apply to MC. I said, oh, miss, and he was like, no, MC. I said, Mississippi College? And I was like, I don't want another a graduate. I don't want to go to grad school again. He was like, no, they have a law school. I was like, really? So, I said, where? And he said, it's downtown.
Yeah.
And I go downtown and I walk in and and I apply, and I got an offer. They looked at all of my scores. They looked at my grad school grades. They offered me a full scholarship,
Wow.
and I matriculated through law school. Um, and with a child, with I got married and I got pregnant again in law school. and and graduated, and then shortly after graduation I took a position as clerk to two judges in Hinds County, Judges Denise Owens and Judge Patricia Wise, and those are the two most dynamic women that I could have ever worked for, because they were the first Black chancellors elected in the state of Mississippi, the oldest, the longest running, the longest sitting judges, state judges on the bench, African American, sitting on the bench. They recently retired. Well, Judge Owens did. Judge Wise retired a couple of years back. But sitting at their feet, I learned everything about court procedure. I learned everything about chancery court practice, and I learned everything about being a lawyer. I watched lawyers come into the courtroom all the time, and I sat and I watched them. I watched their objections they made. I watched their arguments. I watched how they argued. They even identified the ones, Judge Wise and Judge Owens, they identified the ones that I needed to look at, that I needed to, follow. These are the lawyers that you want to be like. These are the ones that we look at and we deem to be, respected in the field. And so I learned everything. And by the time that I went out on my own in 2017, I built my practice. I built my business, um, um, from the standpoint of, giving premier legal representation to Mississippi families. I'm a family law attorney, um, because I love family unification. I love to be able to, you know, um, take a family from this point over to to the other side of litigation. Um, and it's the heartstrings of my business. I also advise multiple businesses, in their um daily, operations.
And helping
I
them
give
start up as well.
Yes, exactly. So in the midst of, after Gary and I separated, you've met Gary. So after of my children's father, well, my last two children's father and ex-husband, we in the midst after we separated and in the midst of us, trying to figure this thing out of what we were gonna do, we started a business.
Yeah, I was telling them about that and they thought I was joking.
No, no. We started a business because we realized two things. One, we still have these kids. We got these kids. We're not together anymore, but we have these children. Number two, we know how to make money. And and he's always wanted to go into the restaurant business. He financially provided for me through law school. Um, I didn't have to, worry about, how I was going to be taken care of or my family was going to be taken care of while I was in law school. He did that. So we came together, created, the cracked egg, in the fourth quarter of 2019. And we already know what happened in the first quarter of 2020. COVID hit. So, but we had to regroup, we had to adjust, we had to decide whether we were going to stick it out or were we going to shut down because we were such a new business. And we decided to stick it out. And as a result of that, our restaurant is one of the top spots in Tupelo. People rave about our breakfast options, and our brunch options. And the nightlife is one that's talked about around town, that we provide. We provide, theme nights, I guess, spoken word on Sundays, hip hop on Fridays, and then you have your old school R&B on Saturday nights. And so we have those themes and those different events that people look to for us to provide the community. Um,
Yeah, and there's
I,
really no other place like it in the area. So it's
right,
that market. I mean, there's
right.
a
It
Waffle
was,
House, I'll think about a couple miles away, but it's a completely
yep,
different environment.
completely different. And so we, I love providing jobs for Mississippi residents. I love to be able um to I love being a businesswoman, you know. I love providing, some uh um economic, development to a community, bringing economic development to a community. And so that's one of the things that is, really important to me as a business owner, giving back to the community.
Yeah, and on top of that, you're providing something that was not there. And you're there in
Right.
downtown Tupelo, where there's a big business, a lot of businesses that need lunch breaks. So there's a breakfast crowd and a lunch crowd that you've tapped into.
Exactly. There's Renaissance Bank right across the street. Then you have, I think it's Cadence now. That's up the street. I mean, it's right there in the middle of, a lot of different businesses that had to basically get in their car and go cross town or go up the street to get, get a breakfast or lunch.
And with all the conferences right there
Exactly.
we've even been to some with Velma Jackson there at the Cadence Bank Center. That was an untapped market that you guys saw, and we always say entrepreneurs solve problems, and that's what y'all did.
That's what we do. Entrepreneurs, look for ways to solve problems. We look at where, there's something that a market needs, and that's one of the things that Gary and I did, starting out, is do a market analysis. We went around the neighborhood, I mean the city basically, and also met with city leaders before we decided to even open. You get to know the people in your community, your aldermen or your city council members, the other business leaders in the community, your community leaders. It's important to identify those key people in a community so that they can help support your business endeavors as well, you know. And that's one of that goes back to the importance of giving back. One of the things that that I strive to do and that I take really good pride in is that, you know, reaching back and being able to, bring someone else along, or reaching back in order to help some other, business who may need some help, identifying a solution to a problem. Um,
Yeah, and that's why before I get to the students' questions, I do want to ask about that because in this class, they've all come up with their own business concepts. But I think a mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make, I think there's two. One of them is, I think the biggest mistake I see is they don't charge enough. But the other thing is, what type of legal hurdles do you see as an attorney that entrepreneurs don't think about and then wind up costing themselves with? Because you being an attorney with the restaurant is huge because any legal things you already know about.
all right,
So
no, so
it's
so
important
for
to bring in an
instance,
attorney at the beginning to make sure that all that stuff is taken care of.
yes. So for instance, we sell liquor. We sell liquor in the crack den.
Yep.
In order to sell liquor, you just cannot just purchase liquor and sell it. You have to have a liquor license. That means you have to provide the state of Mississippi, the Department of Revenue, with certain documentation before they issue you a license. They want to see the floor plan. They want to see the bar that where the liquor is going to be stocked. They want to see, the menu. What else are you serving in addition to the liquor? They want to see, do you have a business account? Not your personal, but your business account. Are you a an actual business? Um, Before and they review those documents. You have to send in fingerprints, 2 sets of fingerprints, which is, something that you cannot get over. You have to submit those documents to the Department of Revenue. They review it, and then they decide whether or not they're going to issue you a license to sell liquor within the state. And they do background checks. They will do I think I I I I don't want to really say it happens all of the time, but I think they ran my credit. So, so there are checks and balances that they employ. There are different methods that they employ to give you to issue you a liquor license. But at the same time, you also have to, adhere to the food safety guidelines. You have to,
And you got to pay your county property tax
you
because
got to
we
pay
have
your
multiple locations. If you guys are in Lee County, if y'all decided you want to open them in Monroe County, you're going to have different tax laws you're going to deal
you're
with.
going to have different taxes, and also sales tax. You got to pay. You got to pay. A set amount. Well, not a set amount, but you have to pay your sales taxes every quarter. So there are different things that, especially with a restaurant, that you have to comply with. Different policies and rules and regulations. A lot of people get it, there's this misconception about entrepreneurs that we don't have to follow rules. We just move by the beat of our own
more
drum.
rules than anybody else because
There
then
are
on top
more
of that, you got
rules
the
for
self-employment tax.
entrepreneurs. Exactly. And we don't get to, just open up shop and just start selling wherever you want to sell. If you open up a business, you better make sure that the place you open up is zoned for business.
Absolutely.
Check the city ordinances to see if it's a commercial location or is a residential location. If it's a residential only, you cannot open up a business there.
Yeah.
Find you another spot. So there are different laws that an entrepreneur has to think about to stay in compliance with not only state regulations, not only federal regulations, but your local ordinances.
Yeah. Now I do want to get to some of these questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these are all seniors, and they've
Okay.
they've all come up with their own business concepts.
Oh wow.
Octavia Johnson, and I'll tell you what her concept is. This is so cool. She wants to be a teacher.
Okay.
But she wants to start a business where she is doing online tutorials of black hair for non-black parents.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my God.
Talk about a need.
Yes.
But she also wants to be a teacher full time. But she asked, what is the most difficult thing about managing two businesses?
The most difficult thing about managing two businesses is trying to be in two places at the same time. I mean, if I am behind the scenes with the restaurant and I am the face of my firm. So, but if I am in a deposition or if I'm in court or mediation with my firm and Gary needs me and he's calling, this actually happened like a couple of days ago, last week, and he's calling because something has happened, or I need to sign a form or anything like that. It's, just trying to be in two places at one time. And I'm gonna tell you about the blessing of COVID is that we knew that we could operate as a society without actually being physically present.
Yep.
So a lot of the forms, a lot of businesses, and even with the state have become, electronic. So if there's a form that I have to sign, I tell them to upload it to me, and I will docu-sign it.
Yeah.
I will sign it electronically and then I'll send it back while I'm in a deposition.
It's just a matter of deadlines.
So trying to manage, and also, trying to just be there for both businesses and trying to, ultimately make the best, choices regarding both businesses. Sometimes, when I'm figuring out taxes and things like that, trying to keep up with all of that important paperwork regarding both businesses can be tedious, but that's the reason why it's important to hire people to take care of that for you. So But I do know as an entrepreneur, a lot of, young entrepreneurs, you're going to start out being the manager. You're going to start out being, the face of it, the manager, the bookkeeper, the janitor. You're going to be all of that. And it's important to be all of that.
Yep.
You got to know how each aspect of your business is ran.
Especially if you're going to train somebody else to do it, you got to see how you want
Exactly.
to do it. Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's an interesting point too, because last year we had Dr. Angela Shannon, who here in Jackson runs Happy Tummy's GI Clinic, and she said, "Look, and it's similar with you as an attorney. I learned how to take care of patients. I learned how to do everything medically, but I had to teach myself how to run a business because it's a whole different animal."
It's a whole different animal, and that's one of the things about being an attorney, because there's a difference between being, being an attorney and being a business owner of a law firm. It's because there are times where I am working within the business when I need to be working on the business.
Yep.
I need to up my marketing. I need to, shift my branding maybe, but it's hard to do that when I am dealing with clients and hearing dates and deposition dates
And
and
employees, top of all
consultations.
that.
Yes, exactly. So I wear many hats every day.
Yeah.
So, so that I hope that answered your question, Octavia.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Now here's Justin Clerk. He's interested in the gaming industry. He wants to start a gaming studio that gears toward black game developers. But he's asking about the restaurant, and this could apply to the law firm as well too. But he said, as a business owner, is the quality of your food and the quality of your product is more important than the atmosphere?
I would say that yes. I would say, and this is the reason why, because quality is always going to take precedence over how something looks.
Yep.
On the inside. I mean, we've gone to hole in the walls to get, and I'm talking about a place that is filled with character. You got, different, the outside may not look good or the inside may be worn down, but it's some of the best food you will ever eat. And that is what, it's a blessing that we're able to offer a really good atmosphere along with a quality product, but should we have to move out of that very expensive building into a more economically, beneficial property that is not as modern, as our facility? We're still going to offer the same food.
Yeah, and now I think what the good atmosphere can offer, in addition to having great food, is that may allow you to charge a little bit more.
Exactly.
You're getting a great product and it's going along with a great atmosphere. That we always say pricing is a mental game. Like, man, this is really good and this is really cool too. People will pay an extra dollar.
They will pay an extra dollar for that atmosphere. Atmosphere is important, but you want to make sure that your product or your service or your customer service is top notch. You want to make sure that those two things are quality. You do not want to skip out on what you are providing people in a product, and you don't want to skip out on your customer service.
Absolutely.
You want those two things to be quality. Even if you showing up in a rundown food truck, you better show up in your rundown food truck with a smile on your face, and you and you serve your customer base, with if you serving tacos, you better make sure that those tacos are the best tacos, this side of heaven. And and people will, I'm not going to say overlook the look of the food truck, but it'll take a back seat to your quality service into your product.
Yeah, because we always say you need the customers more than the customers need you.
That's right. That's right.
Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you
Okay.
so much for taking some time for us today. Just such an incredible story of what you've done, and such a cool dynamic of having the multiple businesses. I don't know anybody on the planet that owns a law firm and co-owns a restaurant. That's just such a combo. But it's two things that are needed, and it's two great things. So, but before we go, you grew up in Mississippi as a young Black girl, and facing a lot harder situations than a lot of our kids ever thought about facing. But yet you become a successful entrepreneur with just so much so many things ahead of you that are going to be great. So what can these kids do now to maybe follow in those footsteps?
What they can do now is always focus on the bigger picture. Don't lose sight of your goal, please, because you will have the hurdles. You will have the different things that come your way to try to get you off your path. Stay the course. If you believe in what it is that you're trying to do, focus on that. Do not let anything take it off of your focus. Focus on just, and I'm not saying, don't have fun or don't, be a young adult, but at the same time, be a responsible young adult, so that it's very easy to get in trouble, very hard to get out of. So stay focused on your goal. Don't let anything deter you from it. The naysayers, the negativity, not even that negativity in your head, because that's going to be the one that stays with you the most. Count that out. Give yourself affirmations. Tell yourself, that you believe in yourself. Utilize your resources. Y'all have a wonderful resource right here in Greg. Well, I call him Greg. I don't know if y'all are allowed to call him Greg, but you have a resource in your teachers, your counselors. These are people, have been where you are. Tap into those resources. A closed mouth don't get fed. Tell people what you want to do. Build those relationships. Relationships are important. It is, a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know.
And who knows you.
And who knows you. That's right. So stay the course, try not to get into any trouble, stay focused, utilize your resources, give yourself positive affirmations, give yourself positivity every day, and make relationships. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. And come see you guys in downtown Tupelo at the Cracked Egg.
Come see us. Come see us.
Is banging. I can attest. It is awesome.
I'm happy to hear that.
And also Williams-Griffin-lawfirm.com.
That's right. That's absolutely. I really, really enjoyed this. This was, phenomenal. I hope that you all gained something as well. Until next time, be blessed and stay well. Okay.
I appreciate it. Lajuanda Williams-Griffin right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.